How is this going to end? What's going to happen? An interesting idea to consider. It comes from, actually, Richard Nixon in an indirect way. Richard Nixon, back in the early 1970s, was in the middle of a somewhat analogous situation. We're going to learn all about it from Richard Nixon's grandson, and he joins us right now, Christopher Nixon Cox. There they are, about 30 years ago or so, and here he is right now. Christopher Nixon Cox, welcome back to Newsmax. How are you, sir?
Very good. Great to be on with you, Greg.
So, look, we know what's going on in Ukraine. Tell us a little bit about the analogy, I think the Yom Kippur War. What was your grandfather going through, and how does it relate?
Well, that was a very complicated time for my grandfather. October 1973, Watergate was starting to percolate. The Saturday Night Massacre happened during that month. And the Arab states, backed by the Soviet Union at the time, saw an opportunity to attack Israel, which was a great friend of the United States and a great democracy of the United States. And of course, many people in Europe were afraid to back Israel, to support Israel with anything significant, such as weapons, because they were afraid that their energy would be cut off, their energy supply from the Middle East. Many people in my grandfather's cabinet warned him that if you support Israel, the Soviets will get involved and you'll start World War III and it'll be a nuclear war. Much of that sounds very similar to what we're dealing with today. But my grandfather made a very important decision. He said, we're going to back Israel with everything that flies. And he pushed through the bureaucracy when the bureaucracy pushed back and said, send everything to Israel, weapons, planes, fuel, whatever it takes. And that allowed Israel to turn the tide of the war against the Arab states. Now, of course, Golda Meir, you don't have to believe my opinion that saved Israel. Golda Meir said that my grandfather was the greatest friend Israel had because of that airlift. And because the Israeli state was able to fight back against the Egyptians, that led to the peace accords, the Camp David Accords in the late 1970s, and ultimately you had peace in the Middle East. And I think it's an analogous situation today with Ukraine.
Very interesting. Now, but let me ask you this, and you know the world very, very well. You're an international businessman now and lawyer. It's a little bit very true. It's analogous. But if we were to do that in Ukraine right now, everything, if we gave them all the planes, everything we got, just back them 1,000%, this is not Egypt. This is Russia. And it's a more potent out. What do you think your grandfather would have done in this, if he were still here?
Greg, you're a smart guy like I am. If a bully confronts you, what do you do with a bully? You punch him in the nose, and a bully backs down. And I think that Putin and Russia are acting like bullies, and they're much weaker than they think. How long has this 40-mile-long column been stuck outside Kiev? It's been taking days and days and days for them to move. If Ukraine had several A-10s, we could wipe out that column in a matter of days. And the Russians know it. And the Russians know that if the U.S. gets involved, they're done. And that would embarrass Putin, and he would never let that happen. I think what we have to do is, it's good for the United States to get involved. We need to heavily resupply the Ukrainians, give them the weapons they need to fight back. They certainly have the willpower. They certainly have the people to fight back. All their citizens are rising up. Heck, 20,000 foreigners came and volunteered to fight against the Russians. There are plenty of people. They need arms. And if they get arms and Russia realizes it's tangling with the best the United States has to send, they're going to have to find an off-ramp, and Putin's going to have to back down. And I believe, again, with a bully, you punch them, they back down.
You know, Christopher Nixon Cox, boldness. It runs in the family. That is a bold idea. And you know what? Hearing it from you like that and knowing about what happened in the early 70s, who knows? This could work. Christopher Nixon Cox, and there you are with your grandfather. Brilliant analysis. We appreciate it. You can go to Newsmax.com and read Christopher's terrific piece on this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.